Oregon. I'm from Corvallis, Oregon. I'm a first year here at Smith. I'm 20 years old. I'm a little older than the other first years because I took a gap year. I'm studying the study of women and gender. I'm declaring this week. I'm really excited about that. I'm also my concentration is in social justice and community engagement, which isn't officially a concentration until next year, but it's exactly what I want to do, so I'm definitely going to that. I'm really excited to be a woman in the future. I feel very empowered. I think Smith is a really empowering place, and I think I'll be able to develop the abilities to be a successful woman in the future. I think women have made a lot of progress, and I think there's still so much more progress to be made, and I think especially with all these new generations, every generation has this new drive and a new passion, and I think that can develop really well over my lifetime in the future. I think women are going to continue to rise to power. I want to be able to live as a woman and never have to apologize for that and never be subjected to discrimination because of my womanhood. I want to be able to live as a woman and truly live as a woman without restriction, without limitation.
Oh, okay. I just...
Yes. Thank you.
My name is Camila Weeks. I'm from San Francisco, California. I'm 20 years old and I'm studying economics at Smith College. When I was 13 years old, I came to the decision that I was never going to get married and that I was never going to have any children. And like that for me is really interesting because a lot of people, and I kind of still have that same mentality, and it's interesting because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you'll change your mind, like, haha, like, that's funny, that's interesting that you're in that state of mind right now, but I feel like that idea is never really validated. And it's interesting because someone can say, like, oh, yeah, when I'm, like, 25, I want to get married and have kids, and nobody really, like, questions that. But my kind of perspective with that was just that because I see my future being really open and dynamic, and because I feel like marriage, and of course there's divorce, so it might not necessarily be as like stable, but at least children, like those are very permanent things, and if I see myself like being in a lot of different places, I can't just like pick up and take off and like move if I have like kids and a husband to kind of negotiate, you know, if I have to negotiate my dreams with theirs and kind of balancing the two of them. So yeah, I don't really see myself getting married or having any children. That might change. I do recognize that, but as of right now, I don't really see that in my future. But I do see my role kind of, I guess, being like, I don't want to say like maternal, but maybe in like a broader sense for like a broader community that's not necessarily like, you know, an immediate like husband or kids, but maybe like as a mentor or something like that. So using my, you know, identity as a woman in that sense rather than in a like traditional domestic, I guess, kind of sense.
More discouraged. Jesus Green, they had to go to college, and I went back. Yeah. And now they don't have the help.
So I'm Chloe, I'm 23 years old and I come from France. I get a bachelor in history in France. That was my major for a long time. And I came here in US at Smith College to study political science, American studies, and especially to discover a new culture. I'm hesitating between traveling all around the world and not getting married at all, spending my life to others and to try to keep a minimum of value, because we are losing a lot of value, and I think it's going to be very hard for humanity. So I want to be one of this person. Or in another way, I want to make a family, to do like my own parents, to have an easy life and to forget the world, but it would be very selfish. So I'm hesitating between both.
How drunk I was! That's so scary. Periods. Wait, Amber! What? How long was the slideshow last year at Senior Banquet? Stop it! Don't spoil it! Don't spoil it! Velociraptor. Oh, hamster.
My name is Mina Zahin. I'm a 19-year-old student from Afghanistan. This is my first year at Smith. I'm planning on majoring in environmental science and policy and economics.
How do I imagine the future? I mean, it was kind of a tough question actually to think about, because I thought, do I imagine the future like more practically, like how it's going to be just from seeing what it is like right now, or do I imagine a future that I would want to see? And I decided to go with something that I would want to see, and I think the future that I imagine is one where everybody stands up for what they believe, and more countries are starting revolutions and standing up against governments that are tyrannical, and people are voicing their opinions. And I imagine a future where all our leaders, they get together and they sit down and they just, they all realize that we need to work together to survive, that we need to realize that, we're the same people. We forget about race and religion, and at the end of the day, we're not going to survive if we're just fighting each other. I mean, it's not normal. I'm not really sure what I want to do, what job that I'm going to have, but it'll have to do with Afghanistan, because I feel that the country needs our generation to really care, to really want to help out and not to run away because it's hard, because we're not used to it, because we didn't see Afghanistan the way that our parents did, and we didn't grow up that way. For us, it's always been, constant, being scared and not knowing what's going to happen next.
My name is Cynthia Wade, and I am the class of 1989 from Smith College. I was a theater major here at Smith because there was no film major or even really film studies back in the 80s here. I discovered documentary filmmaking here at Smith, partially because the vibrant theaters of Northampton, I was completely blown away by all of the independent cinema, and would go down into town all of the time and watch films, and that was a huge influence on me. And partially because Smith was visionary enough to give me a camera my senior year and allow me to be a Smith Scholars, make a Smith Scholars film. I was a Smith Scholar, and I was able to make a film my senior year with basically not taking any classes, just making this film, which was amazing. I wanted a family life. I wanted a husband who was really supportive. I wanted to have children. I love having girls. I wanted to make films full time. I wanted to live up here in Western Massachusetts, and I've done all of those things. So I think I'd be shocked if I were 20 and I could talk to myself today. I would be shocked.
I was going to bring a picture of something from the internet, some young active youth group, And then I realized what I would rather bring is a picture of my brother and his boyfriend. So they're interracial couple, they're gay, they're fabulous, they're living in New York together, and this is what I hope the future could bring more of, is these healthy relationships that are what are considered deviant from the norm, and maybe normalize them and bring them into mainstream culture.
Everything is changing very fast, but there is something that doesn't change. It's the way a child learns. It doesn't change. It didn't change over the history, and it will still be the same. We have to look at children to understand the way to communicate with the different.
This is the image that I imagine myself for my future in like the most ideal kind of sense. This is a picture of Death Valley in Southern California. For me, like the space is very, very sacred and very like complex and very, very like old and deep and rich, and you can like feel it when you're there. And it's interesting that for my future I imagine something to be like old and deep because it's supposed to be like the future and new, but I want my future to be like very much grounded in the past and having a sense of that connection to it.
So this is an illustration of the monastery that I hiked up to this summer. I think like it completely changed everything for me. And so I imagine my future having to do with this place because it's so peaceful there. And if I imagine a future that is peaceful, then this monastery is symbolic of that future.
So my dream is, I have to figure out how to get the money, but what I want to do is buy a building here in Northampton, renovate it, turn it into a production company that I run. But as part of that production company, it is a major at Smith where women can be a film major, and not only are they taking classes, but they are participating in my professional films. So if we get a job for Sesame Street, if we get a job for HBO, if we get a job for MTV, they're the ones that it's like job training. What I want to do is start translating my skills and my experience into investing in the future, and that would be through Smith College and the women at Smith College. That's what I want to do.